Launches ferociously. Wow! What a block by Embiid. Oh, he's a one-man wrecking crew.
When we get to the end of a league calendar, there are always one, two, or even a few teams that dominate the field and pull away from the pack. But they rarely reach the level reserved for only the very best of the best. You know, the historically great. The teams were pretty much told we have to appreciate their greatness.
And the Chicago Bulls are the world champions.
True greatness does not come around often, but when it does, there's a reason it transcends generations. And of course, that leads us all to debating who did it better. Nearly every conversation about the word greatness in basketball starts with Michael Jordan and his iconic Bulls teams.
Look out, Michael Jordan.
The 1996 Chicago Bulls have been the benchmark, the gold standard for all comparison. The popularity of The Last Dance introduced a whole new generation to their greatness, and we're still waiting for the market on bread ones to calm down. Don't lie, you almost bought those patent leather ones. Take them out of the cart right now. They're not it. You're just gonna get hit with duties anyways. Anyways, back to ball. The Bulls, they were led by a rejuvenated MJ in his first full season back since his retirement / baseball career / filming Space Jam. The imposing, crush everyone in their path Bulls were definitely more Monstars than Toon Squad. Sidebar, the real Toon Squad that year, that was the lowly expansion Toronto Raptors who somehow conjured a minor miracle to beat the Bulls by 1 point and hand them one of their 10 losses.
They have beaten Michael. They have beaten the Bulls.
But back to the point, what team, if any, has challenged the sheer dominance of the 96 Bulls? Well, there actually are a few candidates to choose from, but the team best positioned to take a shot at the throne are from the not-too-distant past. Yes, the 2017 Golden State Warriors. So which team truly had the edge? Well, that's a complex question, but let's try to figure it out and dive deeper into the statistics so we can answer one burning question. Who did it better, the 96 Chicago Bulls or the 2017 Golden State Warriors? Okay, first thing to get out of the way before we dive in. So, why the 17 Warriors over the 16 Warriors? The 16 team actually had 6 more wins and broke the 96 Bulls record for most wins in a regular season.
One of the most storied records in basketball is about to fall.
But two big things sway things in favor of the 17 team. First, the 17 team, they added Kevin Durant, an all-time great who made the most dangerous team in the league a true all-around threat. And second, kind of an important detail to all of this, something the 1996 Bulls actually knew the answer to 20 years earlier: don't mean a thing without the ring. Anyway, the 17 team, they finished the job that the 16 team could not.
The Warriors are NBA champions again.
And for that reason, it's the 17 Warriors that are the biggest threat to the Bulls' throne.
The game is completely different than it was back then. They were great in their time, we're great in our time.
Times changed in 20 years of basketball, as have the subtle and not so subtle rules of the game, like hand checking. MJ had to deal with a lot more physical abuse on the court in the 90s and the 80s, a lot more than Curry's had to deal with in his career. It's kind of an unavoidable part in all of these comparisons. What would happen to Steph if he had to deal with that level of fouling on the court? Impossible to truly know. And on the flip side, could the Bulls handle the Warriors' pace and sharpshooting? Because that's got to be acknowledged too.
Incredible long-distance shooting from the Splash Brothers, the greatest shooting backcourt of all time.
Well, the immediate numbers may shock you on the surface. The 96 Bulls shot 40% from beyond the arc compared to the Warriors' 38%. 3 Bulls actually shot at a higher percentage than Steph and Clay. But those numbers also don't tell the whole story. Beginning in the 94-95 season and only lasting 3 years, the NBA shortened the three-point line to 22 feet around the entire perimeter. Today, it's 22 feet in the corners and 23 feet 9 inches at the top of the key. So the 96 Bulls shot the lights out, but with a shorter three-point line. The Bulls team finished the regular season with just 1,349 three-point attempts. That's compared to the Warriors, who took an astounding 2,562.
Curry, another three. Bang!
The Warriors made an average of 12 threes per game, while the Bulls, they average around 7. That's a 15-point swing on three-pointers alone. And that's with the Bulls having the shorter three-point line. So it's safe to say that if the Bulls had any chance of keeping up with the modern-day Warriors, not only would they have to adjust to a new three-point line, they would have to double the amount of three-pointers taken.
The greatest regular season in NBA history. One of the great playoff runs of all time is complete.
The simplest big-picture comparison between the two teams, it's wins and losses. Those 96 Bulls only lost 10 games in the regular season, an NBA record at the time. The Warriors, they had 5 fewer regular season wins. However, when the Heat got turned up in the playoffs, the story changed a bit. The Bulls were still dominant, dropping only 3 games en route to their 4th title. The Warriors, though, they were historic.
Another electrifying performance from Kevin Durant.
They came just 1 game short of an undefeated playoff run, not losing until Game 4 of the NBA Finals. A game I was at, by the way. Yay, no history. Their 16-1 mark tied the NBA record.
Scotty right, Michael left.
Oh! Look out! Look out! Deadly! Durant! Dynamite! He is a cold-blooded assassin!
The best part of debating ball is discussing all the one-on-one matchups, especially when you got 2 all-time great teams with all-time great players. There are Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers up and down both rosters.
What time is it?
The Bulls, they had Jordan and Pippen, who were both first-team All-NBA in '96. The Warriors, 3 guys made All-NBA that year.
How good is Steph Curry?
He's an anomaly. There's nobody like him.
Let's start with the ballot point guard. No contest. Not even close. Steph Curry is likely the best shooter the game has ever seen, and in 2016-17, he averaged 25.3 points per game. Ron Harper, he averaged 7.4. In the playoffs, that margin, even bigger. Sure, Harper was a great defender, and it's not all about the offensive stats, especially the base ones. But no, it's a landslide, not even worth going any deeper.
And it's a good old-fashioned blowout.
Klay Thompson, he's an all-time shooter, but he's got MJ as his matchup. Tough break for literally anyone, including Klay. MJ averaged over 30 points during the regular season in '96, and he filled the stat sheet in pretty much every way. He kept that pace going in the playoffs, and he captured his 4th NBA title. Oh, and he took home a league MVP and finals MVP.
Oh, what a play!
But let's show Klay some respect.
Klay Thompson, stay hot.
No one helps create space on the floor for his all-NBA teammates quite like one of the association's greatest ever shooters. And again, his defense in the 2017 finals, that was solid. But still, MJ all the way. Ant is in the mud. The matchup at small forward, that would be one for the ages. Scottie Pippen, Kevin Durant. Pippen himself called a potential matchup against KD a wash, but the numbers in those seasons are slanted in Durant's favor.
Durant fires and hits.
Pippen is one of the greatest two-way players of all time, and he'd pose problems for Durant, but let's just take a look at their stat comparisons from that season. On paper, Durant seems to have Pip beat, outscoring him by a wide margin and averaging more rebounds in the regular season. On playoff time, it was all Durant, who earned Finals MVP and finished the postseason averaging 28.5 points with 7.9 total rebounds. In 2017, man was an absolute auto bucket. So with all of that said, and we must reiterate, this is all just hypothetical, we're going to give the edge to Kevin Durant on this particular occasion.
He's got game. That's it.
Next up, let's get to 2 defenders who are widely considered to be 2 of the very best at their craft. Also, both just happen to be 2 of the more charismatic and outspoken players we've seen. Dennis Rodman and Draymond Green. What do you think about your chances, Draymond?
Do I think we could beat the 96 Bulls? Yes.
Now let's get one thing straight. Dennis Rodman is far and away the better rebounder. Rodman averaged like 15 rebounds a game during that 96 season, while Green, he averaged like 8. It's not even close.
There's Dennis again. He doesn't even have to score a basket to turn a game around with his rebounding ability.
It is worth mentioning that Draymond won the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year that season, but this matchup, it's really going to come down to versatility. Green, he was also a secondary ball handler and a competent three-point shooter. Rodman, he did just about anything imaginable his team needed, but he rarely asked for or received the ball in the offensive end. You know damn well that man would be singled out in the Warriors' defensive strategy, especially because the Bulls would have to make up a bunch of threes. Green gets the win.
This is the best I think I've seen Draymond Green play
Last up for our starting lineups, we got the big men, Luke Longley and Zaza Pachulia. No, neither of these players particularly moved the needle in comparison to some of the other players discussed. Zaza simply moved closer to Kawhi's landing zone. We thank you for our title up north, Zaza. Anyways, we won't go any further into this other than to say that the numbers, they support Longley winning this particular matchup.
Nothing easy.
Rest assured, Zaza, it was not an easy call.
Oh, beautiful play. What a spark he's been off the bench.
Don't worry, we won't get into the entire bench units for both teams, but it is important to mention a couple names. First one being Tony Kukoc. He earned 6th Man of the Year honors that season as the league's best bench player.
Tony having a heck of a game.
Kukoc averaged 13.1 points off the bench during that regular season, along with 4 boards and 3.5 assists. Steve Kerr, he was the Bulls' biggest threat from deep. He averaged 8.4 points off the bench that season, and he shot 51% from 3. He's getting a ring no matter which way this comparison goes anyways. The 2 top dogs off the Warriors bench in 17, at least as far as minutes go, Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala.
Iguodala guarding, knocked it away again. What an elite defender he's become.
Iguodala was a former Finals MVP, yes.
I want Iguodala.
You'll get him, just a second. Iggy, he averaged 7 points in the playoffs and the regular season that year.
I want Iguodala.
Yes, Max, he is worth mentioning, and he was the runner-up for 6th Man that year in a total X factor. Maybe just not as big of one as Max Dodd.
He crazy.
Livingston, meanwhile, he averaged 5 points in the regular season and playoffs. The Warriors, they also had guys like David West and JaVale McGee. Maybe the Dubs have better overall depth, but this one is tough though, because it really just depends on whether or not you value overall depth or if you're just looking for the best guy to come off the bench, which in that case, is Tony Kukoc.
You've got to be able to coach your best player for everybody else to fall in place.
We're going to give the coaching category to Phil Jackson over Steve Kerr because he's got more rings than fingers, 11.
The Bulls do what no team has done before.
You have to say, they've had one of the most dominant runs ever.
So what do the overall team stats say? Well, in the regular season, the Warriors, they've got the Bulls beaten every category other than rebounding.
A sensational performance from the Warriors.
You just got to give credit where credit is due.
But some of that can be chalked up to the increased pace of play of today's NBA.
What an avalanche here from Golden State.
League-wide, an NBA game also averaged about 5 more possessions per contest in 2017 than it did in 1996. So perhaps the better way to compare is efficiency. The Warriors shot better from the field and free throw line. And as mentioned earlier, the Bulls' advantage from deep needs to take into account their shorter three-point line. In terms of an effective field goal percentage that adjusts for the fact that a made three-pointer is worth more than a two-pointer, the Warriors have an edge, 56% to the Bulls' 51%.
Both teams shooting lights out from downtown.
Both teams have stellar offensive and defensive ratings that calculate points per 100 possessions. The Bulls ranked first in defensive rating in 95-96, and the 17 Warriors, they had the league's second best defense. Both ranked first in the league in offensive rating and top in the league in overall net rating. The regular season Bulls had a net rating that was 2 points better per 100 possessions. In the playoffs, the Warriors cranked it up a notch. They scored 22 points per game more than the Bulls, and they have a significant edge in all percentages. Their offensive leap in the postseason boosts their net rating 1.5 points better than the 96 Bulls. So when it counts the most, the Warriors do have the edge.
That's a winner! Unforgettable!
Listen, at the end of the day, this debate is nearly impossible to truly settle, but you really can't go wrong either way. Who wins if they go head-to-head today and both are still in their prime? Depends. Which rulebook are you using, now or from 96? With today's rules, the 2017 Warriors' versatility and efficiency, that's gotta win out. With 90s rules, those added threes from every position may not end up dropping if they're not comfortable taking the shots with a new kind of coverage. I'd take MJ and the Bulls. As for who had the better season, the 72-10 Bulls or the 16-1 playoff run Warriors, the Warriors, they just reached a whole other level when it mattered most, in the postseason. Congratulations, 2017 Warriors. Some random man on YouTube just told you had the greatest season in NBA history. It's really all that matters, no?